Hi, this is Stephanie Miller from The Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from my show on Political Voices Network.
What did I miss now?
We should play it again.
Don Jr. Talking to General Michael Flynn. Is he still a general? That it's really what's happening in Ukraine is really a genocide against Russia. Your thoughts?
Hey, what? Oh, jeez. You go play it.
Play it again.
Oh, you want to hear it again? Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Oh, wait. Yeah. Oh, this is worth hearing again. Absolutely.
At this point, it seems like it's literally just like an attempted of like the Russians. I mean, it's just hatred of the Russians. It's what's driving the war. I mean, did you...
There you go.
Look at his face.
And also up is down.
You have meetings to find things from me, don't you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we do.
Like,
I don't think I've ever seen Malcolm Nance speechless.
like a rant control meeting that you have.
Yeah, we do.
Enough. What the actual? Where do you get this idiot? I know he's a Trump. Okay, I know he's just about to lose his whole empire.
Yes.
And I know he's been in Russia's pocket forever. Okay, but to come out and say it's against Russia means one, you don't know what the meaning of the word is.
Right.
Two, you are so far up Putin's butt, all right, that you're checking the back of his tonsils. So why these people, I'm sorry, none of these people have the interest of the United States in mind when they officer, who apparently may be their only salvation to make any money after it's all taken away by a powerful black woman that caught them out in cheating.
Yep.
So, I don't know if there's anything more to say about this other than, these trees and weasels are all eventually going to be brought to justice.
Yeah. This one, I had to. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I don't know if you saw her on the steps of the Capitol with a bullhorn yesterday. They're getting ready to try to shut the government down over Ukraine funding, among other things. And she said, and I quote, "Why are we sending them money if they are harvesting their organs and selling children for?" Said a United States.
Yep.
I made him speechless again.
Oh, no.
Joy Reid has one of these amazing statements that very rarely that she says on air. I'm going to use this one now. Fix them, Jesus. Fix them. Good God, what is wrong with these people? Okay, by the way, back to Trump Jr. statement, I thought Ukraine was losing, okay? Believe me, they're not losing. We are kicking Russian butt. Is it costing Ukraine casualties? Yes. My friends, my soldiers that I've fought with are all on the line, but this is now an irresistible force. Russian forces are starting to break in multiple places. But what does the nut come out with? Miss Neanderthal 2023 come up with? She goes out and says we're harvesting the organ of children. What children? The 22,000 children the United Nations has documented that Russia has kidnapped and brought to Russia and are putting up for adoption, including the woman that Putin appointed to run the program, talks about how she adopted two Ukrainian children. That's called that's kidnapping. That is not foster care. That is not orphan care. Yeah. And so Marjorie Taylor Greene will believe any crazy thing that her QAnon followers tell her to, all right, or whatever Donald Trump says in hopes of garnering some, I don't know, to be the vice president of stupid. No, I think she's already vice president of stupid.
Yeah. Speaking of Ukraine, talk to us about the first U.S. Abrams tanks have arrived. The Pentagon confirmed it, said the mere presence of Abrams tanks serves as a potent deterrent. Talk to us about that a little bit from your battlefield experience there.
Well, I'll tell you right now, when we did our counteroffensive this time last year, we were using Polish modified T-72 tanks. And we were really hammering the Russians with them. These are old Soviet tanks that the Poles had upgraded, had upgunned. And it created a shock effect the Russians couldn't resist. This year we're using the German Leopard tank, the Leopard 2 and the Leopard 1, some British Challenger tanks. And the American M1 just brings onto the battlefield a capability that is, to be quite honest, unstoppable. Now, will we lose some? Yes, but we've lost dozens and dozens of tanks in Iraq and Afghanistan simply by roadside mines or landmines, or a drone hitting it from the top. But I'll tell you what, we won't be losing. We won't be losing any of those 31 crews. When a Russian tank takes a hit, or one of our $500 drones drops a $5 hand grenade down the hatch of that tank, it blows its top literally because all the ammunition is in a ring around the crew. So no one survives. Yeah. But when the Americans get hit in a Leopard tank or a Challenger tank or an M1, the compartment of ammunition's on the rear and it blows outward and upward, and the crew survives, most of the tank survives, and you just have to replace that module. So the American M1's coming there is going to give them a force multiplier. It is not going to change the face of this war, because this war, if you want to see what this war is like, go watch the movie Fury and how World War II combat was carried out. That's what Ukraine is. It is the largest land war in Europe since World War II, being carried out in World War II-like conditions.
Excuse me a moment. Joni, did you feel like we were just in When Harry Met Sally, and he was talking war talk, and like all the men were hearing everything he's saying, and we were just like... He's talking about war stuff. I don't know.
I'll give you your orgasm theme. Russia getting their ass kicked.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Sleepless in Seattle. I got the wrong movie. Yeah, sorry, Sleepless in Seattle. That's war talk. That's man talk. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. All right, just to set you off again, here is, because it's just, again, these know-nothings about Ukraine. This was Sean Penn talking to Jim Acosta about Ramaswamy's Ukraine comments here.
Vivek Ramaswamy has talked about this, pulling back on U.S. support for Ukraine. Your response to that?
Well, there's an opportunity here, not only a moral opportunity, but I think a political opportunity. More Swami,
he has said let Russia keep what they have of Ukraine right now.
Yes, I don't find him very interesting because he's just like a high school student who's impressive because he got an A in something he'll never apply in life.
I mean, you talked about you retweeted about Rand Paul, sorry. Putin's favorite senator does what he does best, kissing Putin's ass. Rand Paul threatens to shut down the government unless Russia is allowed to genocide a nation of 40 million. I mean, go ahead,
Absolutely disgraceful. But let me talk about something. I'm going to, every time I talk now I'm trying to help your listeners reframe the narrative. And when people who are progressives and liberals and centrists, they all want to have these theoretical discussions. And the way that Sean Penn responded to him was just utterly and completely wrong. Because even though it had a little zinger at the end there, it is not the way this subject should be discussed. And the only response to that should be Vivek Ramaswamy, right? And all the rest. What is wrong with them? Yeah. They're ill. We did not land at Normandy and start fighting and take 6 months from June to the Battle of the Bulge in December to say, well, listen, why don't we just give half of France to Germany and start talking about giving up on all of this effort? Yeah. Not one American soldier, there have been Americans, but not one American member of the armed forces of the United States has lost its life, or a member of the 30 nations of NATO have lost their lives securing the destruction of half, if not more, and in the end, most of the Russian army, which has been running around mass murdering people.
And by the way,
that never happened to any of us. But the Ukrainians, and this is where I had, let me have a comment here. I had some professor from University of San Diego. He pulled his tweet, but he was writing an article about, Ukraine should win because they're putting this pressure on, but this can't last. And I said, well, that's an academic's viewpoint. Us practitioners, all right, have a very different viewpoint, right? And he came back and made some snarky remark about practitioners versus academics. The practitioners here are the men and women of the Ukrainian armed forces who are losing their lives to take their country. Yeah. So when a person like me comes up and says, here's the rules, or Zelensky, unconditional surrender and the recovery of their lands, is what this battle is being fought for. It's not being fought for a stalemate. It's not being fought to give away.
Can I tell you something so brilliant? I thought John Fugelsang said on the show Friday. Because we've talked about this. Sometimes the left, whether it's the Putin talking points, or anti-vax or whatever, like they've met in some right. And he was saying, for those on the left calling us warmongers because we believe we should support Ukraine and democracy, he said, we were against George W. Bush attacking a country that didn't attack him, and we're against Putin attacking a country that didn't attack him. It's not very complicated, is it?
Well, I mean, you see that Medea Benjamin and all these other, with Code Pink and others going, you're warmongers. We're not. But when someone kicks in your front door and a gang of armed men come in, kill your wife, kill one of your children, you're trapped upstairs on the second floor with a weapon, all right, trying to fight your way back down to get them out while waiting for the police to come, that is not warmongering. That is the defense of your family. And another thing, and the reason I went to Ukraine, I didn't want to see my friends fight for their existence, their mere existence, from a thug and a bully like Vladimir Putin without my help. Right? I walked away from news media to help. And everyone who believes in what America stands for should help. But, we have the crackpots out there. Somebody wanted me to debate Glenn Greenwald, right?
Oh, dear.
And the funny thing was, I said, only if I could use my honorarium to buy suicide drone bombs.
You retweeted Ron Filipowski, who said Trump has called for terminating the Constitution if he determines an election was fraudulent, called for the chair of the Joint Chiefs to be executed, says he will remove media companies from public airwaves who don't treat him well. So let's do a story on Biden's sneakers. We were just talking about that and how, once again, the media may help both sides us right into fascism again. I'm going to let you get shouty in a second, but one last one I wanted you to get to. Because Mike Rogers, who you think is one of the sane ones, I guess he's running for Senate now, so he said, this Department of Justice is corrupt. I worked for the FBI back when our focus was actually taking down violent criminals and drug offenders, not carrying out the political bidding of the president. When I'm in the Senate, I'll hold these unelected bureaucrats' feet to the fire. And you just said utterly disgraceful. When it's a black man or Hispanic senator, you demand the DOJ tear them apart. When it's a white Republican man who has 91 indictments, you suddenly hate America. Nice to know. You keep using the word treason weasels. It's like, I don't know how else to say it.
Oh, it's like this is like one of the worst treason weasel seasons we have ever seen. All go there, even though you got your bag of rats fighting, you have people left and right. I mean, look at the interviews with Cassidy Hutchinson, where you have Mark Meadows going, would you die for Trump? Literally, seriously asking her, saying loyalty to this man over the Constitution is your number one thing. I spend my entire life today, right, writing, talking, and fighting in the defense of what we believe, our values, our Constitution. But now I get these people, we've got half the nation has decided they no longer care. And I've warned about this in my last book. What you're going to come up with is not a fascist dictatorship government. You're going to come up with what I call a constitutional autocracy. And that is where the Constitution is applied against their enemies. And it will be used to protect them. And the Justice Department will be just another tool to prosecute people, to arrest people on the street, to go out and create the first fascist dictatorship in American history. Yeah. And apparently a third of this country thinks that's awesome.
Real quick, before you go, it's interesting. We've been talking about Cassidy Hutchinson, and you retweeted Wajahat Ali, who said, I'd love someone to ask Cassidy Hutchinson if she still agrees with all the Trump policies he advocated for and she championed before the January 6th insurrection. I mean, granted, she's only 27 years old. When I was a dumb USC kid, I voted for Reagan. I came from, you used to be a Republican. But I don't get how you can say you're a Republican now. Because it's not just Trump. It is, as you say, a party that no longer believes in democracy. She said this will be the end of democracy if Trump gets back in.
Get a new piece of audio of now a warning and change that into now a Republican.
A warning?
These people out there, which some of the things that she said she loved Trump with the bottom of her heart, which is why she stood and accepted the sexual assault of Rudy Giuliani.
Yeah.
She stood and listened to them literally connive against the Constitution to destroy America. And then one morning, when she was writing her book, she decided to open her mouth. She's saying things she didn't tell to the January 6th committee. She didn't bother to tell to America. She sat on for several years. These people have no moral compass. No moral compass. They have no souls. And whatever they do have that's in place for that, they have decided has to be paid for before they say that. And this is what you have to stand up against. Stop being like the news media.
Yeah.
Stop both sidesing this.
Yeah.
One man with sneakers. The other man can barely hold a cup of water. He has to wear he has to wear a garter. He has to wear diapers. I mean, you've got to come out with this just as forcefully as the average person. When you're having these discussions to convince people or to talk to people about the threat to democracy, you've got to get out there and make it strong.
Yeah. You heard shouty. You got your shouty orders.
Yeah.
All right. We love you, Malcolm Nance. Oh, hi. I'm here with sexy liberal John Fugelsang wearing my Los Angeles sexy liberal shirt. Oh, my God. We have an LA show coming up October 21st. But how else could you see it, John?
How else could you see it? I'm so glad you asked. For a limited time, you can see the show live via pay-per-view if you go to sexyliberal.com. All the laughs, you'll miss nothing.
I can stream it from all around the world?
All around the world, in your car, while you're driving. Watch it at home.
Sexyliberal.com, yeah.